Hey friends, today we are going to be taking some of my newest thrifted finds and flipping them for a profit. Our first project today is a pair of candlesticks. The look on them is outdated, but I do love the shape. I knew all they needed was a little cleaning with some Windex and a paint job. Hands down, my favorite paint, DIY clay-based paint. This paint is highly pigmented and nice and thick, so the coverage is amazing as you can see. I'm using the color Skeleton Key, which is a great blue-gray color. I'm using my DIY Perfectionist brush. It has a nice pointy tip on it, so it gets down in all of those low points very easily. After one coat of paint, you can still see a lot of that base color coming through, and I'm not doing any distressing on these candlesticks, so I'm going to give them another solid coat of paint for full coverage. Two coats are done. Oh, what a beautiful blue-gray color. And now for the fun part, I've grabbed my DIY smoothie brush, and I'm getting it wet using my continual mister bottle. From here, I'm dipping my brush into a little bit of DIY white Swan, and now my paint is super diluted since my brush was wet. I'm going to just kind of dry brush on a couple of areas and spray more with my mister bottle to get that paint to start running and dripping down the piece. I did that to both candlesticks and let them dry. Now there's a couple spots where the coverage is a lot thicker than I wanted, and I want one more tone on here. I grabbed a jar of Crinoline and added a ton of water to make a paint wash. I'm adding a little bit of the wash to the top of the candlesticks and then spraying more with my continual mister bottle to get that color to run and drip as well. This method requires a little patience while your paint dries in between coats. If you use a hairdryer or a heat gun, it blows the paint around a lot and kind of ruins the drippy effect. So I'm nice and patient and I let the crinoline dry up as well. After all the drippies have dried, here is what we are looking like. What a fun faux effect with so much texture. Now we just need to simply seal them up and they'll be complete. I grabbed my DIY clear wax. This is a soft, buttery smooth clear wax. Absolutely my favorite wax ever. I'm using a chip brush here for easy cleanup and just giving these candlesticks one light coat of wax. Notice as I'm applying it, it does start to darken up and richen the tones of the paint back up. I'll use a paper towel to wipe off any excess and then let them dry overnight to even out. Here is a reminder of what these candlesticks looked like before and a peek at the final result. Y'all drop me a comment below. Let me know what you think about this drippy finish. I absolutely love the old world look it gives these candlesticks. I paid a couple of dollars for these candlesticks and they are listed up for $22.95 on my site. If you'd like to grab any of today's projects or the products I used, head on over to upcycledbybrie.com and I'll be sure to drop all of those easy to find links in the description box below. I got this wooden box. It looks like maybe something was attached. I'm going to use some 220 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander just to smooth this out. I'm not trying to remove the entire finish. I just want to smooth out the spots where there was something attached to the piece. I gave the piece a good wipe down with a wet rag with just a little bit of Dawn dish soap on it, and then wiped it back with a plain wet rag. Since I exposed some raw wood, I'm afraid the tannins will cause bleed through. I'm going to seal it up with DIY Salvation Solution. It's a stain blocker and primer. This is also an all natural product and safe to use inside with low VOCs. I knew this box would be a perfect candidate for some appliques from my redesign with Prima molds. I'm opening up some new ones. A little hack for you: write the name of the mold on the back. That way you don't forget the name when you're using them on a live stream. I'm going to be using some epoxy resin inside of these molds. I just need to mix them up equal parts of A and B, and you do have to stir this epoxy for 5 whole minutes before you can use it. Now it's time to fill the molds. I'm going to pour the epoxy in very carefully, making sure it fills all the little spaces in the details. Now, this is only the second time I've used an epoxy. Feel free to drop any tips and tricks you have for me in the comments below. After they're poured, I set it on the countertop because this one does take 12 hours to dry. The next morning, they are dry and ready to come out. They release very easily, and now I just have to decide whether I'm going to use the insects or the lady heads. I feel like these covered the box better, so I went with the lady heads. First, I'm going to give them a coat of DIY Pennies from Heaven, which is a copper patina. This is self-sealing. It has a built-in sealer, so it will be super easy to get these covered and shiny. I absolutely love this copper patina. There's also a gold, a dark, and a gray in this line. I did decide to give these a second coat for better coverage, but isn't that copper stunning? Now, time to paint the box. I'm using a DIY weathered wood, which is a really pretty brown gray color. It goes on pretty dark, but it will lighten up as it dries. And I did let that Salvation Solution dry overnight before I painted the box today. I'm going to use my heat gun just a little bit here and show you how DIY paint lightens as it dries. Since it's a clay-based paint, it's darker when it's wet, and as it dries, it lightens up. See what a beautiful weathered wood tone this is? I love it. Now I'm using some Star Bond Quick and Thick to glue my appliques onto the box. Now, I could have left them like they were, but I decided I wanted this box to look old and distressed. So I decided to go ahead and cover them up with another coat of DIY weathered wood and let that dry. DIY paint is water soluble until it is sealed, so I can use a wet paper towel here and start distressing my appliques with the paper towel. That way I'm not using a sander and losing the detail on my epoxy. Just a wet paper towel, wiping back the paint, letting some of that copper peek back through. I'm using my same DIY clear wax to seal this piece up. One even coat across the entire box, and then I wipe back any excess paint with a paper towel. I let my wax dry and even out overnight, and now my final step is a little DIY dark decrepit dust. This is another aging medium by DIY Paint that I absolutely love. Reminds me a lot of dirt, and I'm just going to take it and put it down around the appliques and in the corners, giving it a more aged finish. And here's a look at the box all finished up. I am obsessed with weathered wood. You can see all of my little brush strokes and texture that I created. And this really does look like an antique weathered wood box now. What do y'all think? Drop me a comment down below. Let me know if you have tried the redesign with Prima molds yet. I paid $1.29 for this box, and it is now listed up at $29.95. And our last project is this cute little pair of metal wall sconce that I picked out of the bins. Pretty outdated, so we are going to give them a faux copper finish as well. But this time I mixed up the copper patina half and half with DIY dark and decrepit liquid patina as well. And this just gives a darker copper finish opposed to that really bright, shiny copper finish. I ended up needing to do 3 coats of this to get great full coverage, and now I'm going to be using my redesign with Prima transfers. These are the classic vintage labels. They come in 3 sheets. You unroll them, and then you have got your smaller transfers to choose from. I found 2 florals that I really love that fit very well on the little wall sconce, and I'm just going to use a pair of scissors to cut out the pieces I want to use. Lining them up to make sure they're going to fit on there well, and then I will remove the paper backing and place my transfer onto my project. I will grab the enclosed little rubbing stick and start adhering the transfer to my surface by gently pressing down and rubbing back and forth across the transfer. For a fun faux verdigris finish, we're going to be using DIY Shipwrecked. It's a beautiful teal wax, and I love using it right over this copper patina down in the little crevices to look like it is aged patinaed copper. Have y'all ever tried using a colored wax before? Let me know down below. These would be great for holding votive holders, of course, but you could also do some succulents or even place them by your bathroom sink to hold your rings while you wash your hands. These little votive holders are multi-use, and I just love what a quick, easy DIY flip they are. I paid less than $1 for these wall sconce, and they are now available for $12.95.
If y'all love these thrift flip videos, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and send this video over to a friend. That's going to help me know what kind of videos to bring to you in the future. Be sure to subscribe to all of my social media platforms. Links are down below. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Bye, friends.